Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. This week on Show Me the Way, I'm joined by Cindy Manko for a conversation that couldn't have come at a better time. In just over a month, my son Nathan begins his senior year of high school, making this episode especially meaningful for me. Introduced to me by Lisa Kupelian, Cindy shares her wisdom on navigating one of parenting's biggest milestones, launching our children into adulthood. She offers practical advice on how to support our teens, guide them with intention, and just as importantly, give them the freedom to spread their wings. Cindy is the creator of the Journal Project, a beautiful keepsake journal that encourages moms to document their child's senior year through their own eyes. She gifted one to each of her 3 children upon graduation, and she generously gifted one to me as well. I can't wait to fill it with memories as Nathan experiences this exciting year. Through her listening, loving, and launching approach, Cindy reminds us that while parenting is never easy, we can embrace this season with purpose, gratitude, and confidence. I hope you'll join us as Cindy shows the way and helps us discover the tools and encouragement to make the transition from teen to adult a little easier. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. Today's guest is Cindy Manko. A few weeks ago, you may recall I put a request out there reminding people that they all have a story to share. Although the Show Me the Way podcast is about a time you faced adversity, what you learned, and the perspective and advice you can share, everyone has faced different challenges or times in their life where they needed to turn left instead of right. Once I put that request out there, somebody that I met through women's networking, Lisa Kupelian, kindly gave me a few names, and one of them was Cindy. I reached out, and Cindy was so great about immediately connecting. We had a great phone call, and I'm so looking forward to talking to her today. Cindy is a mom and has made it her goal to help other moms through her experiences. She's an author, a life coach, speaker, and also a podcaster. She has so much to share, and I know we're going to learn from her. Not only does she strive to help moms deal with their children transitioning from teens to adulthood, she also started the Journal Project for documenting a child's senior year through his or her mom's eyes. How timely. If you've been listening, you know I've been whining that my youngest was preparing to start senior year in just over a month. I always think that God introduces me to people at exactly the time I need to meet them, and this was a perfect example of that. After we had our initial conversation, Cindy graciously sent me the Journal Project, the book, and I'm so excited to get started on it. I will let Cindy share more about that, but what a cool concept and something that we as moms all could use a little help with. I've been through it before, but getting ready to start the emotions all over again, even more so since this is my baby. I'm so appreciative that Cindy was open to being part of this podcast, and I can't wait for her to show us the way. So welcome to the show, Cindy.
For having me. I'm just thrilled to be here. Thanks for taking the time just to lean in. I truly believe that things happen for a reason. Connections happen for a reason. I'm grateful that Lisa suggested me for your podcast. I'm Cindy Manko, and I am in my kids' wedding era.
Oh, wow.
I know. So I've been through all of the teen stuff. Just a little backstory. I was a teacher until I had my second child and decided to be a stay at home mom. Well, I was forced into retirement a couple of years ago when they all decided to grow up and leave my home. So,
Forced in retirement. I love that.
so what am I to do, right? I'm sure most moms are thinking the same thing when they're in that position where they're transitioning into empty nest. But I just decided that the one thing that I always wanted to do was to help other moms. It happened to be something that I was always doing as I was raising my kids, and I enjoyed it. And people constantly told me that I was their go to, which I love helping moms, and we need each other for sure. And I'm married. 32 years to my husband, Steve. We met in college, and we have 3 kids. They are the love of our lives. They are just so much fun. Sometimes we sit and think, how are they our kids? They're the coolest people. So it's fun. It's fun to watch your kids grow up. It can be nerve-wracking, all the things, but through this empty nest time, I just took the time to dive into what it might look like to help other moms. I went to a conference on how to write a book, thinking I was going to write a book. And I wrote a book, but it was just a journal. And I say just because there's not a lot of backstory in there. It's for you to create. So I really haven't created a book. I've created a place for you to create your own book. And that makes my heart just soar because every mom needs to know just how wonderful they are. And through this book, it gives them the opportunity to look back a little bit with this journal project. They just take a time to look back, to evaluate how far their kids have come, dabble into thinking about the future, even the future without their kids at home. And so not only is it a beautiful keepsake, it's also a really great place for you to process. So, yeah, it's just been a big journey. I didn't know how to even use a computer that well when I started all this, and here I am. I've got my own podcast, and it's been a fun journey of learning, hard, but all good things come from something hard. So that's where I'm at right now and enjoying that. And yes, I am in my kids' wedding era now. So just last year, in August, my oldest got married, and this August, my second daughter is getting married. And then I also have a son who is my youngest. So we're having a good time just watching them soar.
I love that so much. You almost brought tears to my eyes
Mm.
with your little intro. So thank you.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
I love that so much. I love that you enjoy helping other moms, and you're right. We're all in this together and we all need each other. I enjoy being around my mom friends so much, and I love when we can all relate and give each other advice on things we've been through before. So I love that you've kind of formalized that so people have a place to go. So I'm excited to learn more. Cindy and I spoke just for a little bit on the phone a few weeks ago before jumping onto this call. And so she knows a little bit, but I just want to share a few more reasons why I started this podcast. My son, the one I keep whining about, who is going to be 17 in a little over a month, he's going to be a senior. He was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy when he was 5. So his name's Nathan. And I have 2 sons. Cindy and I were just saying how children are all so different, even though they're raised from the same parents, and they are night and day. So I have been through this before. I have been through this whole senior mom thing, but not with my baby and the one that I've been a caregiver for. So it'll be a very emotional year for sure. He is hysterical. He's already planning his graduation party, and he already has all these plans for his senior year and what he's going to do. He plans to be on homecoming court. I hope it all works out for him. He has so
Awesome.
many things that he's looking forward to. So I will just have to put a big smile on my face and fill out this journal to get through it. But yeah, so when he was diagnosed, as you can all imagine, our lives were just completely changed. I just hadn't really dealt with anything like that before. I didn't know what Duchenne muscular dystrophy was. My older son was kicking a ball before he was 2 years old. So learning that this child was not going to follow that same path was very difficult. He was going to need a lot more help and a lot more assistance. There was going to be a time he would need to be in a wheelchair. It's a progressive muscle wasting disease. So when he was younger, he could walk, and now he no longer can. So when I got through the initial, all the stages that you go through, when I got through the initial diagnosis, my husband and I said, we're going to do things. We started a nonprofit called Nathan's Ninjas to raise money and awareness about Duchenne muscular dystrophy and to help him. A lot of our friends and family said, how can we help Nathan? So we've raised money to be able to get a ramp in our home, and we've adjusted the bathroom so it's better for him. He has a lift so that he can go into the basement with his friends. So we've been able to do so many things for him in that regard. But also, when you start sharing a story like this, other people come out of the woodwork saying, I've been through something similar. My cousin was diagnosed with that, or I dealt with breast cancer, or I dealt with grief. I had to caregive for my parents. There's so many challenges and and things that people face. And I feel like, to Cindy's point, we all need each other. And
Yeah,
when you start sharing these stories with one another, it really makes a big difference. It helps you
absolutely.
see things through a different lens and understand things from a different perspective. And my son Nathan has taught my husband, me, and my older son so much. I
Yeah.
can't believe the way I think now compared to the way I used to think. I used to think 5, 10 year plans. Now I think, okay, what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks? And that's about it. So
Mm-hmm.
he's taught me to live in the present a little bit more. And he's just a light to people that meet him. So I wanted to start a podcast. You can tell I like to talk. Cindy and I both share that in common. We
Yes.
said when we were on the phone. Um, I wanted to create a platform where I could talk about Nathan's journey, and then since then have everyone else tell their stories, or from there have everyone else tell their stories. And we're on season 2. This is actually the 46th episode. I was just looking at how many I've done. So I've dropped a new episode every single week for the past almost 2 years. And I've just heard from everybody. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes we shed tears, but sometimes it's just a good lesson about life. And I just have met some great people. Like I said, it's Cindy and I just met a few weeks ago. And if
Yeah.
I wasn't doing this podcast, I wouldn't have met her. But God placed Cindy in my life, just like many other guests. And I just want our listeners to understand that they're not alone. And they're learning from
Absolutely.
all of our guests. And I just wanted to create a platform for that. So that's what the Show Me the Way podcast is. And I'm really excited for Cindy to talk more about. She alluded to some of the things in her intro. But yeah, we're going to hear more about her experience and the project she's doing. And I'm sure we're all going to learn. And you're definitely going to want to follow Cindy after this. I will share all of her contact and her website information. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking now. And I'm going to let Cindy take over, and we
Well,
will go from there.
I think it's great. That intro about Nathan is bringing up so many things that I can talk about having teens. First of all, the most important thing for you is a different path. And I would say that the recognition of that is really um, such a gift. Here's an example. I'll give you an example. I have my oldest, Maria, who is really into sports. She played hockey, an unusual sport, and just really active that way. And my second daughter, Nadia, we put her in sports. She played soccer, she played volleyball, basketball. She played all the things, but she just didn't have the passion like Maria did for one specific sport, maybe volleyball, but for some reason it just wasn't landing like it was landing for Maria. And not that she was a phenomenal athlete. As a matter of fact, I think, oh my gosh, she was just spunky and really quick, and had all the right things to be a great athlete and to move on. My oldest played hockey in college, and it got to be Nadia's junior year, and she took an art class. Now, a funny story about that is for Maria, with the hockey rink was always a place we were at. Their younger brother even played hockey. So Nadia was pretty much a rink rat. She would enter the rink with her backpack and all of her art supplies and little trinkets and things in her bag. And I should have known that art was going to be her thing. And that junior year in high school, she just started this art class and started to show such promise as an artist. And I remember asking her if she wanted to take art classes when she was younger. And she's like, I don't want somebody to tell me what to do, which is true creativity in itself, right? Like she just wanted to do it how she wanted to do it. Well, as she took this class in high school and started seeing that, we started to see a passion start to grow in her. And I remember asking her her senior year, you could probably play volleyball at Hope College. She was deciding to go to Hope College. I said, you could probably, go in there and talk to them. And she's like, I don't think I really want to do that. And I'm like, okay. And so she goes into college to um, just do a business degree. My husband's a lawyer. She, thought, well, maybe I'll go to law school, maybe not. And she wasn't quite sure. Well, she took an art class for her sophomore year. She walked out of Hope College with a studio arts degree and a business degree, a dual major. And there was something about that transformation, not just in her, but in my understanding that, my husband played tennis in college. I played volleyball in college. So it just seemed like the natural thing for our kids to do. It was Division 3. It wasn't anything, you know, scholarship oriented, but it was just something that carried us through. And we thought, oh, our kids are enjoying that. But Nadia showed us differently. And, she helped me to see that it really isn't necessarily one path. And she has just been amazing with her art. And it's interesting to stop and remember that it's theirs. We have to slow down and we have to listen. Now, the anthem for my work is Listen, Love, Launch. It's the name of the podcast. And I highly encourage parents to just stop and listen and for what they're becoming. The best grace we can give our kids is to give them the time to express themselves and to show us who they're becoming instead of us trying to curate who they should be because of what we think we know. And that's a big shift that parents struggle with. And I know it's all from the goodness of your heart. And because we think we know better, um, we see it, we've been through it, all the things, but we really don't. And Nadia is a great example of that. I really didn't consider art as something she was going to do and really become passionate about. Now, here's the plot twist. Nadia went out into the work world and got a management position, hated it, and decided to go to law school. She just graduated from law school. And so, you just don't know. And if you're open to their conversations and you give the pause, one of the greatest transitions you can make when they're eighth, ninth grade is to actually start making the shift. I just heard somebody on a podcast talk about it was, I think, a child psychologist who said it's not the children who need the counseling, it's the parents. And I thought, yes, that's exactly it. It's us parents who need to better understand how to make transitions like this. So, it's really important for us to, when they become teens, to just take the pause and make a shift. And that's hard because our kids are before that so used to us loving them in a way that is providing, directing, just doing things to help them. And when their autonomy starts to kick in, that is when they're wanting us to step back and let them practice that. And so many times we're just so busy that we forget to allow that. So that's kind of my basis for what I'm doing. Now, I've been working with moms of high school seniors. This is something that's worked, around the book and the podcast, and I, just help those moms with that transition. But most of the moms that I've helped have said, I wish I would have known you before the senior year. So I am currently transitioning and rebranding to helping moms of teens. And I'm really going to lean into eighth, ninth grade moms to help them make that transition. It's a very important one for them. So, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. As a matter of fact, my daughter reached out to me, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago and said, I have a work proposal for you. She mentors teens and helps them walk through just having special talents and helping them with their goals in life and helping them stay on track, helping them with social media and how to handle that. Right now, she's working with a 14-year-old offshore boat driver. She's a racer and races with her dad, and Maria's helping her find her way on social media, And so she's like, why don't we work together? You work with the parent and I work with the teen. So we're working on that rebrand and hoping to step into that to work with teens who have an intense track that they might be on, or even just any teen that is looking for some direction. It's a lot easier to hear it from somebody other than mom, and moms could use the help on how to make that transition, on how to help them. I went through that with her with hockey going into college, so we kind of have some experience in that and think we could really help out.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that parents need the help because it's so true. There's not a manual, there's not a book that says, here's what you should be doing. And life is different now than it was when we were kids. And so parenting had to change. But I do think sometimes they use the term helicopter mom, or we try to get overly involved, and that's great. I have so many dear friends that would do anything for their kids, and I respect that so much.
Yeah.
But sometimes you do think, like you're saying, maybe the best step is to let them spread their wings.
Yeah.
I mentioned on my last podcast, we were talking about um, a child with autism. And the guest was just saying, like, as soon as I let him spread his wings, he surprised me and he did all of these things. And he tells me all the time, don't underestimate me. And so we talked about another friend who is getting ready to send her child away to school.
Hmm.
And she's having a lot of concern about that. Like, what if she fails? What if this happens? What if that happens? And I said, what if she surprises you?
Yeah.
So, here's hoping that. And I
Yeah.
have experienced that with my older son. He's, like I said, 20. And he's I don't wanna say he's really quiet, but he's definitely my introvert out of the 2. He has a core group of friends, and that's where he stays, and he's just a just a little less talkative than myself and my other son. So he's a better observer than we are. But I thought that same thing. Like, he actually goes to Adrian and he plays soccer, so I can relate to the
Uh-huh.
D3 sports. And we thought, "Oh, how's this gonna go?" I mean, it's a small school, so that's good for him.
Yeah.
But is he going to find his way? And freshman year, there were some kids on the team that he knew before from his school. So they kind of stuck together. But sophomore year, he just opened up and he joined a fraternity, and now he's the treasurer for it. And he joined a business club, and he already got an internship for this summer. And he's just doing all these things that I didn't do for him. And
Yeah.
it's like a pleasant surprise. It's
Mm.
really hard because I don't like seeing him grow up and, need me less. But it's also really cool too, because like you said, how did we raise this guy?
Yeah.
Where did he come from? Like, he's just impressing me every day, and it's a
Yeah.
good feeling. But
It's
there's nothing that tells you to prepare for that.
right. And I think that the really important thing for moms to understand is, just because they're leaving the home doesn't mean you're losing them. Letting go does not mean you're losing them. And I think that my goal is to teach moms how to feel connected in the letting go process, because that will transition into such a wonderful um, life with adult kids. And it's proof because I have it right now. My kids, and there's things that I'm learning now as a mom of adult children where I have to keep my mouth shut. Like, let them figure it out. I have all the answers, and I have to just be supportive. And you learn to do that if you listen in to the Listen Love Lunch podcast. No, it's one of those things. Listening is so important because it guides you as well. It guides you into how to better come beside them. As teens, they don't want you to do things for them. They may say they do, but their autonomy is happening. There's a part of the brain, I mean, there's a whole thing about, the frontal cortex of their brain is developing. And, you kind of have to be that part of their brain for a hot minute, but you also have to allow them to build it. And if you're answering and doing all the things for them and curating their life, then they're not building that part. So then when you let go, it's dangerous. And that's why probably a lot of parents get that uneasy feeling when they watch their kids go up, because they realize how much they were doing for them instead of guiding them. Now there's in the journal project, there's a chapter in there about independence, and it just literally lists things that they need to know how to do before they leave. And you talk about it, and it gives you that, oh, I don't know if my son knows how to do his laundry. My kids, all three of them, went to college and were like, no one knows how to use the washer and dryer. I keep showing everybody how to use the washer and dryer. They were doing their own laundry in 7th grade, 8th grade. It was how we survived being busy family. It wasn't something that I was like, oh, I've got to make sure. Thank God it helped, but it was important. It was one of those things that I was seeing that, again, moms doing their best to be the best mom that they can, and it comes from the most important part of their heart. But when you don't make that shift to realize that, your child needs to practice that autonomy at home before they leave. And when they do that, there's so much more confidence. I just put a post out on Instagram that was talking about how worry, is robbing you of thinking of possibilities. And I never was a worrier with my kids. And sometimes I felt kind of bad that I wasn't a worrier, but then I realized I had parents who raised me as an independent thinker and a problem solver. My dad might sit down with me if I had a problem, and he'd give me all the scenarios that could happen from it. And then he would say, it's up to you to decide what you want to do. And he's like, if you do this, this, if you do that, that, and maybe not, and maybe this, but we'll be here, we'll work through it together. That's the difference between that and saying, you need to go and do this, because that doesn't offer them the opportunity to make choices and to build that frontal cortex, that, part of the brain that's going to give them the, problem solving and the emotional regulation. Just keeping calm is really important.
I am not always good at that, but this is
Oh,
this again, I often say this, like, this is the Andrea therapy session, so thank you for sharing all of that.
of course.
But I wanted to touch on what you talked about listening and how important that is, which I am not always that great at that either. But you're making me think about both my children. So for Nick, it's been such an interesting transition, like I said, watching him grow up and start to make all these decisions. But you make a good point. Like, I don't want to ever push him away. As he gets older and he needs me less, I want him to still know he has a safe place.
Mhm.
And, there's been a couple of times where he's come to me and talked to me about things that I wasn't expecting. And I'm hoping I'm giving him good advice, but you're thinking, gosh, I haven't done this before. I don't know, by saying the right things. So you're really showing me, like, just listen
Yes.
and keep this safe space going. And I just try to support and I try to give the best advice, but sometimes it's just listening is the most important thing. So, and the other thing I've learned from actually my uncle is pretty good at this. Like, he has told me he has adult kids and he'll say, if they come to me and ask a specific question, like, how do I do this? Or I need help with this specific thing, then I will answer. But I'm not going to tell them what to do outside of that. If they're
Yeah.
just talking to me, I'm just going to listen. So that's really
Mhm.
great advice.
Yeah, and listening is a practice. Listening, I always say this, listening is your teen's new love language. And they want to be heard and validated. That's the most important thing, is their growth depends on how you are reacting. If you're quick to answer and not give them the opportunity, I always say to the moms that I'm working with that it's important to first listen. And then, even if you don't feel like you have to ask them questions, because what that does is it offers them the opportunity to sort things out. That's not something they're used to doing. And when we offer them the opportunity to work it out, we're working that frontal cortex. We're helping them to learn how to problem solve. We're learning how to express yourself. Some kids can express themselves very well, and some kids can express themselves very well all the time and forevermore. But when they know that they have a safe space to come to, everybody needs that. And what better person than mom, right? You say that you hope that he knows that he can always come to you. And I think it's proof because he has. And a lot of that is just offering him not necessarily what he has to do, but just your own advice and what you might do. Um, they need that grace. They need to know that in your, good examples in that book, it talks about when they went through a hard time, and then you are to share one of your hard times. One of the most important things is for kids to know we're not perfect and we've been through hard times too. And this is what we learned. And when they know that you can relate that way, and if we're not giving them that time to really express, the pausing is so hard when they come, or when there's tension, when there's, that teenage tension where they're yelling at you and you just don't get me. Instead of yelling back and telling them what you know is true, just say, hey, what can I help you with? What seems to be the problem? And just giving them the opportunity to talk it out, because those people who are just telling their kids are going to stop, and they're going to, if you have a kid that is just kind of becoming like a good kid and not really testing you, I mean, it's great to have a good kid, but it's even better to have a kid who's questioning and pushing for their own opinion and pushing for their own autonomy so they can test it out. So I think listening is number one. You've got to listen, and love is next. Love is loving them enough through their mistakes and telling them that we're going to get through this together. This is what happened, but that's okay. We all make mistakes, or bad things happen to people. Or in your case, I don't know how Nathan is with his muscular dystrophy. Is that what it is? Yeah. And, it's part of conversation, just having conversation with them as somebody who has independent thoughts.
Yes. See, bringing out the emotions again, Cindy.
Yeah, I know.
No, but you're spot on. I'm thinking a lot about Nick here, but Nathan's the one that I'm a little more focused on with the transition. And yeah, I love what you talked about with independence, because in a wheelchair, there's so little that he has control of, and there's so few things he can do. But he's also pretty good at pushing the limits with me, like, hey, go throw this garbage out for me, or go do this for me. And it's like, come on, kid, you could do that yourself. But like even yesterday, I told you we had his bathroom finished so that the sink, he can pull up to it and he can wash his hands. Well, normally I help him with all of that, getting the soap, getting the towel, all of that stuff. Well, yesterday I said, you need to go wash your hands after he ate something. And then I went and did something else. And I came back and he was in there washing his hands. He had the towel out. He put the water on himself. And it's like, really? You can do that on your own. So I think that will be a great exercise for him and me to just really stop and think, what are things that you can do without my help, especially as you're going to be 17? What are
Yeah.
some things that you just make me do because you're being a little lazy or you're taking advantage? And what are some things that I need to like make you do, let you do? And I mean, hand washing is a silly example, but there's a
Mhm.
lot more than that. It's like he can think on his own. You said expressing opinions. He's really
Yeah.
good at doing that.
Mhm.
So it's a transition for both of us. It's a big lesson for me, but I do need to say stop and see what he can do without your help.
Well, it's building resilience. That's a huge thing, not just for him, but for you. Your resilience in staying firm in that pause when things are hot and heavy or tense, or keeping the pause when things are sad or when they're challenging. That is a huge piece in yours and his resilience. And you have a situation that is unique, more unique than most kids, and the lessons, like you said, are already yours as well. I do encourage parents to always talk about their dreams and their ideas as a individual, not as a mom, because I think that's something I did not do. And so took me for a little bit of a ride when it became empty nest, and it was like, I kind of felt like I was at the basketball court naked and everybody was looking at me like, "Tell me who you are." And it's like, "Ah." And I didn't even know. We wrap ourselves so tight into the mom role. You have to take the time to reacquaint yourself with your husband. Just take the time to reacquaint yourself with yourself and know who you are outside. And it's a gift to your kids because isn't it neat to think that as you're cheering your kid on, they're going to cheer you on? Like that's what my kids did for me in this whole learning to become a podcaster and a mom coach. And there's something about that is it's such a remarkable piece to our relationship now. And I I encourage moms to do that before they leave because I don't think I did that well enough.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. We often see that in people, like, they start something when they're older, they
Right.
finally say, "Okay, now it's about me," and it's interesting to see what moms will do when their wings get spread as well,
Yeah.
so I do
Yeah.
love that. Well, tell us more. I'm definitely gonna go listen to this podcast, but tell us more about the Listen, Love, Launch podcast. Like, what is the format? What's it like? What have you been doing with that?
Well, I've been taking a break because again, I'm in my kids' wedding era. And also, my mom, who's 82, had major back surgery. And so I've been caregiving. So I stepped back from work for a hot minute as far as working with moms directly. I am in the process of creating some gatherings for moms. So work is not done, it's just on hold a little bit. But the podcast just basically focuses on the things that we're talking about. I have guests on. I have a lot that I'm just talking. I think I have over 100 podcasts. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun to just speak into moms and encourage them. I have a Facebook group that is called Savvy Senior Moms. And that's just a place where moms can go on and say their things, and I give them encouragement. I just started that, so it's not quite moving very well. And it kind of moves a little quicker once the new year comes or what the new school year comes. So, yeah, so the podcast is just, I mean, kind of the same as what you're doing. It's just talking and encouraging and helping moms not feel so alone and giving them the skills and the tools, just speaking into them. And moms are special. We carry a lot, and it's sometimes too heavy to carry on our own. That's why I'm here.
Just love it so much. I have so many friends I'm thinking about.
Oh, good.
I'm actually gonna see a few tonight, and I'm just gonna say, "You gotta listen to this podcast. It's gonna be so good for you." But, you said you were a teacher first,
Mhm.
but, like, you're so good at this. It sounds like you've been a therapist your whole life. Did you just kind of tap into, like, you knew you were good at this and you had all this experience, or do you have some background? Because it's amazing to listen to you. You're a
Well,
natural.
I think that I taught for 5 years, elementary school teacher. It was kindergarten, first and second grade, staying home with my kids, and I don't know, I don't have experience as a therapist, or I just have experience in caring to hear what moms have to say, and I don't know. I think it has to do with my own upbringing. I think that I had parents that did all the things that I talk about. And I didn't realize it, honestly. As I knew I wanted to write a book just about being a mom, I didn't understand. So I did a lot of learning, just research. I follow people on social media who are child psychologists who do work with teens. And I learn a lot that way. I do a lot of reading. And so the science part behind it is stuff that I've just learned on my own. The connection part is what's, I think, natural for me. I love people. It's always been a thing that I say. I love people. I don't care who you are, what you do, what color you are, whatever. I love diving into people's stories. That's just something I enjoy doing. I'm a people person. And I think that's what carries me through.
Yeah, I love that. I couldn't agree. No wonder we clicked right away because I would like
Yeah.
to say I'm a people person too.
Yeah.
I have to be around people all the
Me
time.
too.
So, I love hearing their stories or just learning from them. Like, okay, wow, I didn't look at it that way, or I haven't checked out that site, or now we've got this new podcast to listen to.
And it's interesting that you say that. As I was learning, I was becoming part of groups of women who were doing the same thing that I was trying to do. And that is that connection piece. Another group that I'm a part of right now is a group of women who are going through menopause and that whole shift. And boy, the next book I'm going to write is going to be called Empty Nest and Menopause.
At
Really,
the
God?
same time, yeah.
Like that's a lot to take on as a woman. And so yeah, so I think that being in places with people who are going through the same thing, like you said, you're meeting with friends who are going through the same thing as you, who might have a senior or have a teen. And it's just, women need women. And that's something I've always learned and saw, be it through Bible studies that I've been a part of. It's just, there's something about having that support.
Yeah, I really agree. I live for my girlfriends. I need to have a
Yeah.
bunch of women around me that I know are relating and going through similar things. So the time with them is just invaluable. I'm one of those who definitely needs
Mhm.
to feel like I'm not alone and that there's other people
Yeah.
going through what I'm going through. And yeah, we just all need one another. I don't think we were meant to do any of this alone. So
Yeah, for
I can
sure.
really appreciate that.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that moms of teens have that sense of that dooming feeling that our kids are going to be gone. That's like such a calling on our lives to have kids. And when that's coming, we tend to want to hold on so tight to that piece because it is, we are forced into retirement as a mom in the presence of our children. But that doesn't mean, and that's part of my passion in this, is it doesn't mean we're disconnected from them once they leave. We can build connections, as they're teens, that's going to carry them. And I think a lot of parents don't feel that way because either they feel like they can't relate to their children. I think they feel like, their teens don't like them, which that's a thing. The teens, it's not that they don't like you, it's they don't like that you are trying to live their life for them. And again, I keep talking about that shift, but I think that the letting go, I tell a story all the time to my moms that I work with. I ask them, when do you think was the first time that you let go? Like you had to really let go. And some will be like, on their first date, they went on their first date, or they'll say something like when they had their first sleepover they went to, or when they went to kindergarten. I didn't cry. A lot of moms cried. I don't know why I didn't cry. I don't know. Just wasn't in me. I just was excited for my kids. But I always say to them, you let go the day that you gave birth. You are carrying them in you. This has been a lifelong journey. Their lifelong journey with you is you letting go a little bit along the way. And it's not letting go of your connection. It's not letting go of your relationship. And that's the part that we miss because, we love to snuggle or we love the hugs, and, teens are prickly and they don't want the hug, or then all of a sudden they want the hug. And, it's a lot to take on a teen, along with that dooming feeling that they're going to be gone. And you don't want them to leave when there's tension. But that tension's there for a reason, and we have to listen to that and make that shift.
So let me ask you, your three children, do they live close to you or have
Mm.
they moved away?
My oldest moved to Florida,
Oh, goodness.
and my second daughter, Nadia, moved to Grand Rapids, so she's 2.5 hours away. And my son, a year ago, moved to Florida with my daughter. So, yeah, that's been a whole journey too. But here's the thing, um, when you focus on who they are as a person, um, full disclosure, my son is in the process of figuring himself out right now. He's 25, he's got a college degree, He was thinking of going to law school, but then decided, I don't want to go to law school. And so he's been for 3 years just kind of doing a circle where he gets a job that's not really a job with his degree, just to make ends meet, whatever. And he's struggling. But in the same breath, he's also, when I step back and look, he's really working at figuring it out. And when we can, look at their character and the things that they're really good at. I mean, he is a worker, and people that have him work for him love having him work for him. I mean, that alone is confidence for my husband and I that this kid's going to make it in the world. He's going to be fine. It may not be on the timeline we'd like to see it happen, but it's all part of the journey. It's all part of that journey. And it's important to just really focus in. And again, that journal project is that opportunity for you to really look at some of those things that are going to help you see where their strengths are, where they need some work, and where you can come alongside of them to help them out and give your own advice. Every month, there's a spot in that book that you can write what happened in that month. It's amazing, the process. So, the reason why I put the book together was because my daughter, her senior year, my first daughter, ran into the house, and it was an unusual time for her to run in. She had practice usually. And I'm like, "What are you doing home?" And she goes, "I forgot my shoes." I don't remember what it was. And she ran past me and she came back and she says, "Oh, wait. And by the way, I made it on homecoming court." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that it really wasn't on any of our radar as far as her being on homecoming court." And she turned around and ran upstairs. I'm like, "Ooh, we got to talk about this." Like, hold on. And so she came back through and she ran through and said, "I'll see you later." I'm like, "Wait, we aren't going to talk about this? Like, I really want to talk about this. Like, I'm so excited for you. And that's so wonderful." In my head, I'm going, you know, it's not about that she's popular. It's that something happened that was kind of not on her radar. She wasn't expecting it. And it just brought out all the reasons why I think she made it on homecoming court. She's a leader, she's fun to be around, she's hardworking, all the things. And I couldn't talk to her about it. And I'm like, I just want to sit at a round table that's all worn out because that's where we sit and talk and have a coffee with her and talk about it. And she didn't have time for that. And that's when I started my own journal for my kids, and I started just writing things. I'm like, I can't forget what I feel right now. So I started writing. Well, it became a journal to her rather than about my feelings. And that's kind of where the birth of the journal project started. And I did it for all three of my kids. And it's truly amazing how different each child is. And it's what's really cool is when you start writing, you'll look back a month later and go, oh, they made it through that. I can write about this now and show them. So when they read it, there's confirmation for them that they can get through hard times. It's such a beautiful keepsake for them, and it's such a good lesson for them to continue to go back. My middle daughter, Nadia, called me and she's like, so when I took them to college, I gifted it to them as I'm walking out. I hugged them. I did not have to say much because everything that I wanted to say to them was in that journal. And so it was, I love you. I'm proud of you. Go get them, right? Hand them the journal wrapped up and said, open that when I'm gone. My daughter called and said, oh my gosh, Mom, I cannot put the book down. I'm telling myself I can only read one journal entry a day because I don't want it to end. And my son said, I just can't believe how far I've come. I'm laughing at some of the things that you wrote about that I went through that I thought was important or whatever. So, it's a really great process. It's work. It is absolutely work to fill out that journal, but it's work that is so multifaceted for you and for your teen.
I think that is amazing. And yes, I was gifted a book from Cindy, so I'm so excited, but it does make me want to go order about 10 more for a few other moms I know. I wish I would have had these for my first son, but definitely excited about doing it for Nathan. So I know you have a website. Is that where I go to order more of these, or I can go to
It's on
Amazon or
Amazon.
okay.
Yep,
Okay.
it's on Amazon.
Good. So yeah, those moms of seniors or I don't know, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, because let me tell you, it's going to be here before you know it. The
Yeah,
high school years go so fast. I have a nephew who's going to be a sophomore, so my sister will need one.
yeah.
But you're just making me think of so many things, especially speaking of my nephew who's going to be a sophomore. He has divorced parents. My sister divorced
Mm,
his dad, and he lives about 45 minutes away from my sister, mainly with dad
mm,
because his school is there and he wanted to stay with all of his friends. And so she doesn't see him as often as she would like. And she's not always involved in all the little details. So I think it would be great for her because then she can remember what she's been able to do and when she was around and what she saw for him. She supports everything that he does. So I think it'll be great for her. I don't know if she would take the time to journal. She's a really busy lady, but I'll put it in my phone and then I can remind her and me both to do it at the same
yeah,
time.
there you go. It
Yeah.
does be a lot. You'd be surprised. And that was the one thing when I created it. I constantly reminded myself that not everybody is a journaler. And so I made it quite easy. There's prompts in it that will help you answer things, rather quickly if you want. It doesn't have to be in depth. There's places you can go in depth, but that's why I made it the way it was because it is time consuming. But yeah, it's a great process for sure.
Awesome. Well, I just am so grateful. You should see my notes over here. Like I always say during my podcast, I
Yep.
take all these notes because I have so many ideas while you're speaking. But yeah, I learned so much from you. Like I said, it was a little therapy session for me. I love the give the pause, listen.
Mhm.
I actually, when was it? I don't know if it was 6 months ago. I got a new tattoo on my wrist and it's supposed to be a woman, like the outline of a woman in like a
Zen.
meditation
Uh-huh.
pose,
Uh-huh.
and it's supposed to help me with my calm. It hasn't really done that, but sometimes I'll look at it and I'll say, "You're supposed to be a daily reminder." Um, but I'm gonna also attach the word pause to it. So when I look at it, it should also hopefully remind me to pause because I definitely need help in that area. I
Mhm.
do like actually going through these podcasts because this process has taught me to become a more intentional listener because I want to respect my guests. I want to hear what they're saying. I want to listen and take in all of the nuggets that they're giving me. So, and my listeners. So that is a really good reminder, like listen more, take the
Mhm.
pause. I think those are things that we just take for granted. We don't appreciate how important those little messages and those little nuggets are. And yeah, there really isn't a manual out there. There's not all of this attention put on the transition from teen to adult. We have all kinds of resources for when they're really young, but
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of parents would agree, a lot of moms would agree that that was easier. I would go back to five,
Yeah.
6 years old
Yeah.
and even the fits and the whining and all of that stuff. I would go back to that tenfold before I would stay in this position because it's so hard.
It is hard.
But on the other hand, it's really fun to see them grow up and to see them spread their wings and to see that, okay, we were part of that. We were some
Yeah.
kind of part of the person that they're becoming. And it is fun to watch that. But I also really liked that you talked about the connection with your children because look, yours are not living next door to you.
Yes.
And you still have a great connection with them. And I
Yeah.
think that's beautiful.
Yeah. It is the pause is hard and it's a process, it's a skill you have to learn. And some people they fight it because they're so used to reactive parenting and that's okay. I mean, we all you have to stop and think how were you raised? That makes a difference too. So, yeah, that pause is super important and it's not just important for you and your children. It's really important for any relationship. A lot of this listen, love, launch thing is you listen and you love them in their opinion and their thoughts. You love them enough to say yes or no, or you love them enough to um, support them or to punish them if they need punishment. And you love them enough to, just continue on and give them grace. And then the launching is not necessarily when they leave for college or the workforce or whatever. The launching is the next moment. It really isn't about one launch. We've been launching and letting go since the day we had our children. And every time we stop and pause and listen and love them through what they're going through, we can launch into a better, closer connection with them.
I was just going to say, do you have one more little nugget you wanted to share? And after that, I will say mic drop, pen drop, because that was exactly what we needed to hear for sure.
Aw,
Yeah, I
good.
really appreciate that we've been letting them go a little bit at a time ever since we gave birth to them. They're no longer inside, they're on the outside, and they're becoming their own person. They're no longer attached to me physically. So that's a big kind of perspective and learning point for me for sure, and I think for all of us. But yeah, this has just been such a great conversation. I'm so glad that Lisa connected us. You never
Yes.
know, you put something out there and you see somebody mention someone else's name, and I just said, you know what, send a message, see what happens, and Cindy was right
Awesome.
on it, and I really appreciate that because you are a perfect guest for the show, that's for
Oh,
sure.
so glad it's so fun. It's fun to share what I've learned and kind of what I wish I knew. I mean, I didn't know about listening as much, I guess I was doing it, but to really learn about those things and to actually put them into practice, it's really fun to watch moms just get those aha moments and see some reconnection with their kids. So, stay curious about your kids because as much as we're responsible for them, they're responsible for their own autonomy and who they're becoming. And the more we try to take that away from them, the harder it is for them to really be who they are. And it's so neat to see moms just move into that and just thrive and move into the next phase with a little more ease.
I love that.
Thanks so much for having me on. I
Of
love sharing this
course.
stuff.
Good. Thank you for being on. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a website, there's podcasts, there's all kinds of information that I will provide for our listeners so that they can connect and learn more about what Cindy is sharing. Cindy did mention she's taking a little break at the moment. So if you don't see anything new, it's fine. There's 100 podcasts to go back
Yeah,
and listen
that's
to. So
right.
you have plenty of time to catch up. But all the best to you and your
Well,
family and the wedding era. And also prayers and thoughts to your mother. I'm glad that you are able to be there for her. So I hope that that continues to be something that you can do and be there for her. And I pray that there's some peace and strength there for you and for her and the rest of your
Thank
family.
you. Thank you, and the same to you, going into your son's senior year and just with all his hopes and dreams, I hope they come true. I can't wait to hear what he's doing for his grad party. We had all kinds of fun things at our grad parties, so
Good.
I'm a big fan of fun things at grad parties, and, I just wish you well with the year, and I'm here whenever you need to talk.
Oh, I'm glad you said that because don't you worry, I'll be reaching out and I'm going
Good.
to also look for that Savvy Senior Mom Facebook group. But again, I'll put this information on our notes so our listeners can do the same. But thank you for being a guest,
Yeah,
Cindy.
thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.